to see the other one.
All set?
Yeah. So.
Very low bosses.
Mayor.
Chair will call the September 3rd, 2019 meeting of the City Council to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Will do. Alderman Redpath.
Here.
Alderman Gregory.
Here.
Alderwoman Turner.
Here.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Here.
Alderman Proctor.
Here.
Alderwoman DeCenso.
Present.
Alderman McMiniman.
Here.
Alderwoman Connolly.
Present.
Alderman Donlin.
Here.
Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mayor Langfelder.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, a quorum is present.
Well, thank you very much. The chief is going to give a presentation on our focused deterrence program. Would you rather give it at the beginning or the end of the meeting? Chief? I told him under 10 minutes, plus questions.
Am I going to get up there with you?
I need him to.
He does a pretty good job.
You should be getting a copy coming to you right now. We were trying to make some copies real fast for everybody. We wanted to come out tonight and kind of give an update on the Focused Deterrence Initiative. The main reason for that is that our research partners here in town, as well as our project coordinator. Additionally, we're going to be sending out a survey that's going to go out tomorrow as a follow-up to our initial survey that we did in 2017 about focused deterrence, so we can start measuring our impact. So with that, I've been getting some questions from citizen clubs and different groups over the last few months. We've been giving them updates as we go, and I thought this would be a good time just to kind of bring everybody up to speed about where we're at. What is focused deterrence? Focused deterrence is a strategy aimed at reducing violent crime, strengthening law enforcement community relations, and building local partnerships to ensure fair administration of justice. Our goals are to effectively reduce violent crime, specifically violent gang gun-related crime, work with our community, as well as build and sustain stronger police-community relations. The next slide, you'll see a map. This is our target area. This falls within our Quad 4 area. It's hard to see, but basically it runs, if you're going to look Cook Street, down to basically Ash, along the 11th Street corridor over to Martin Luther King, that comes up and kind of zigzags around a little bit. This is the area back in 2017 when we looked at our data where our most concentrated shots fired occurred and shooting events occurred were in this area here. Additionally, with our survey that we did in 2017, we found that the residents who live in this area are impacted the most by gun violence. They have a feeling of being less safe. They experience more gunshots. They see police more often, and they had a negative view of law enforcement more than other areas of the town. This one's kind of hard to see here. This is our 2016 and 2017 gang-related confirmed shots fired. What you're trying to see there is you'll see a map of 2016 on the right and 2017 on the right. This goes back to our planning stage and why we chose this area. As the previous slide stated, that's where the vast majority of our shots fired were occurring at. That's where we had the highest population, the highest density of shots fired. Sometimes people want to think of gun violence and gun-related crimes only being one part of town. This actually shows you in 17, 18, and 19. No, 2016, 17, 18, I can't read on my sheet, about where thefts of guns are coming from. What's kind of interesting about this is that if you look back in 16 and 17, the red target area you see there wasn't a lot of gun thefts. But as you see now in 19, it's pretty much all over the community. And we'll talk about that a little bit later about some of these places where the guns are coming from and what we're seeing. The objectives are to address the most serious violent offenders causing the most violent crimes through a call-in model. We partner with community and social service agencies in a coordinated effort to reduce violent behavior. Also to ensure effective communication between our partners throughout the entire process. Call-in model. Basically, we have a multidisciplinary team that basically selects the participants of this program. Then we call them in, and basically they're given the options you see above you. Option change, provide you social services and community support to change your way, change your behavior. Or continue down the path you're going down and face prosecutorial priority. What we're trying to do basically here is say, you got to change one way or the other. You can keep doing what you're going to do, but we're going to hold you accountable for your actions. Or you can take our help and change, or you can even walk away and not accept our help as long as you change behavior. From our survey in 2017, what you see above you is that there was strong community support to address gang violence everywhere in the community. As you can see, whether it's in the target area, the quad 4 area, non-target area, or the rest of the city, anywhere between 68 and 87% strongly agree we need to address this. And there was strong support for law enforcement to be in those areas doing what we need to do. Some of the social services we provide a structured mentoring program, GED assistance, job skills, soft skills, anger management, trauma counseling, substance abuse treatment, assistance in obtaining adequate housing, assistance in obtaining employment, mental health, and family services. Some of our key projects over the last 15 months of implementation is at 5 community engagement events to include neighborhood walks, different events that we've done, 3 call-ins with 31 participants to date. We'll have our next call-in in October. Anticipate somewhere around 12 people in that next call-in. We've also done 3 enforcement actions in the target area. These are just some photos of some of the things we were doing. Defining success. What is success? We measure success by individual participants stop shooting and disengage from gangs. That's ultimately what we want. Participants become more productive and healthy. Participants and their associates continue to be held accountable for whatever violent acts they do. Gang-related shots fired decrease across the target area, as well as residents of the target area feeling safer and more satisfied with police services. Participant statistics. As I stated earlier, we've had 31 total people who have been involved in our call-ins. 23 have not reoffended with gun crime, 74%. 8 participants have reoffended with gun crimes. Out of those 8, 4 have been convicted and sent to Illinois Department of Corrections, 2 are waiting trial, and 2 have not had charges filed at this time. For a total of 15 people are now facing felony charges. So we're showing that we're holding our people accountable. So almost half the people who went through the program have reoffended in some capacity with a felony charge and are being held accountable for their actions. Mentorship program success stories. When we start this program, most of the time people take part in the services, but at different times they drop out for their own reasons. Sometimes they believe that they can go it alone, they think that their support group is sufficient enough, and so they'll disengage in our services. We've had 3 who've continually been engaged in at least twice weekly group one-on-one mentoring program to include the above list of stuff. I'm not going to read it all to you, but include life skills, resume preparation, job interviews, etc. Mentorship program success stories. Sustained engaged involvement in scheduled programming, improved social services, increased community value. But the big key here is no subsequent police contact and continue to meet all the probation requirements. Tangible successes. These are some of the things that we've been able to accomplish. As you see there, the key thing, we just did a meet and greet last week with the 3 that are currently going through the program that have been continuously involved in the services. We've also talked to a couple others who occasionally take advantage of the services as they feel they're needed. And the number one thing we keep hearing about is how do you keep us out of gun violence and gang violence? Jobs and employment. Jobs and employment. Jobs and employment over and over again. Housing, and this is coming from their voice, and they talk about having to have a job where they can support their family. And they can't be working fast food making $8 an hour to replace the hundreds of dollars they were making a day doing other illegal activities. Impact on crime citywide. Confirmed shots fired, we're down 24% in 2017. As you can see there's 3 lines there, 2017, 2018, 2019. We're not seeing the big peaks we saw in 2017. You can see where the call-ins occurred at. But what you're seeing there with the red line is we are treading a little higher this year compared to last year. We saw a 24% drop last year. I'm not so sure we're going to see that this year unless we get some help in the next few months. Obviously, the hot weather has a role on this, as well as the fact that certain people get released from prison, from jail, and it comes back, and it all has a role in this. So with that said, we're hoping to see that decline coming, but right now, we're not trending extremely higher, but we are seeing a little bit higher trend, especially in the month of July. The next one is just basically a heat map. As you see in 2018 and so far in 2019, we don't see the hot spots that we saw before. They're not as densely populated. When we look at our data, some of it's spread out. So the question is, are we just moving the problem? That's one thing we look to answer in our impact study. Confirmed shots fired in Quad 4, which is basically the area bordered by, if you go basically Clear Lake South, 11th Street, all the way out east, down to Stevenson Drive. That basically is your Quad 4. As you can see, confirmed shots fired in Quad 4 were down 14% and 18 from 17. Through July of this year in that same area, we're within one standard deviation of the expected numbers in that target area. Gang-related shots fired. We're down 17% from 18 to 17, and through July 1st, we're down one total incident. So we're basically flat from last year to this year so far. This is another map just showing basically the same thing. Next steps. Impact evaluation plan. As I stated earlier, we're going to be sending out a community survey that'll be going out tonight and tomorrow from our research partner at SIU, Dr. Kolchel. We're asking that the citizens who receive these, please take the time, fill them out, and send them back. It helps us evaluate what we're doing and how we're doing. It will go out citywide with a heavier concentration in Quad 4 as well as the targeted area. The impact of the evaluation plan, things we look to do, and be able to draw upon the conclusion of this is, what is the impact on the time series analysis? Are homicides, gun homicides? What's the relationship there? Is it going down? Is it going up? Gang-related shots fired, confirmed shots fired, calls for service for shots fired, gun thefts, gun victims. Look at all of that in our impact study. Future strategies. A significant number of identified gang members have documented burglary and theft, as well as criminal damage histories as juveniles. Many of our current shooters have progressed from thefts and burglaries to gun crimes. What do we do about that as we move forward? In order to address gang violence for the long term, future strategies must also focus on juveniles who are both associated with gangs and involved in burglaries, theft, and motor vehicles. The goal is to hope that efforts in these resources will help an immediate impact on reducing property crimes, long-term impact on gun violence, and best chance to affect change in lives for the better. What we talk about here is that, again, most of these shooters are not on our radar just now as become shooters. They're on our radars back for the property crimes as juveniles. And while we're limited sometimes in what punishments or discipline can be dished out by the discipline or the juvenile system, it's one of the things we have to figure out a way to work with our state's attorney as well as the judges to hold people that need to be held accountable for their actions. And I will say that, the St. County State's Attorney, I think Dan Wright might be here, has been a great partner throughout this whole process, as well as the U.S. Attorney John Milheiser. But we know that we have to target and focus on people earlier to change behavior instead of waiting until they become shooters. So that's basically what we had at this point in time. One thing I did want to address real fast is that the guns. Upon talking to these young men at this last meet and greet, they all constantly state they can get guns in a matter of a few seconds, a couple phone calls, and come up with guns. These guns are coming from a variety of sources. They're coming from residential burglaries. They're coming from car burglaries. To unlock cars, burglaries to unlock cars. I know we've been stressing this for the last year and a half or so. So I just want to pull out a couple numbers. In 2018, we had 32 burglary motor vehicles in which guns were stolen. One of those was forced. In 2019, we're already at 27 with one of those being forced. That means these guns are being taken from unlocked cars. We need the community's help in securing your weapons, not leaving your cars unlocked, et cetera, as we go forward. Additionally, we know that there are straw purchases that are going out there. We've been working with our federal law enforcement partners to try to address that, as well as the retail sector here in town. We also know there's the black market for guns. So again, there's no one place that they're coming from. They're coming from all over. But if we can kind of take advantage of the things we can control, such as the ones from cars, I think there'll be a great reduction in some of the shootings and some of the guns we're seeing on the streets. That's all I had at this time. Any questions?
Alderwoman Turner?
I have a question about the survey piece because I think that that's extremely, extremely important. So is it going to be a mail-out survey, and then how are you expecting individuals to return?
It is a mail-out survey, and Dr. Culturally, you want to step forward so everybody can get to meet you? Come on up. I'll let you answer that one.
If you'd introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Sure. Dr. Tammy Koschel, and I'm a professor down at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. And we will do the survey, the follow-up survey, much like we did the initial baseline survey. So it'll begin as a mailed survey citywide, and I kept an eye on our response rates. There's a series of follow-ups, so a follow-up reminder postcard, we'll send it out again to folks to try to get them to respond. But in the event our response rate is low, we've got some time set aside. We'll actually come up in those areas and do them in person if we need to increase that response rate. And that's actually what we did during the initial survey as well.
Okay, because I am concerned that we get a good response rate from Quad 4 because that seems to be the area that's most impacted.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's also probably the area that would be least likely to return something by mail. So when you go out to do the follow-up in person, who actually is responsible for doing that?
I actually brought graduate students up, and it was actually mainly in that target area where our response rate was lowest, so that's where we focused, and we went to the randomly selected addresses, door to door, until we hit all of the addresses. So we'll follow a similar strategy this time, going out door to door as needed, and most likely, again, in the target area. As you say, that's where our return rate will probably be lowest.
Right. I would suggest that in order to get the highest return, that when you do the door-to-door, that you utilize some people that are known to that community, that are trusted members of that community, that people would be more apt to respond to rather than someone that they don't know just walking up doing a cold knock on the door.
Thank you for that. We've actually considered doing that. I was pleasantly surprised at the baseline that if someone was home, about 80% of the time they took the survey. It was not like my experience in any other city that I've done these door-to-door surveys in. So I was really pleased with their willingness, and we did it actually in the heat of July 2017. So the heat index those days was about 116, 117, where they're holding their door open, talking to us.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that you should look at. I've done these types of things before, and I think there's a couple of things that you should look at is that the difference between someone who's not a trusted member of the community, the response that you get. So just because they open the door and talk to you doesn't necessarily mean that they're being as open and honest as frank as they may be with someone else. And I think that in this situation with this project, it's imperative that we get a very good response rate, and also that we get answers that are open and honest.
Sure, yeah.
So I would just think about that and consider it.
Thank you.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Yes. Have you looked into how many of the guns that are taken out of unlocked cars or residential burglaries are legal or illegal guns?
I have not looked at that. We could probably look at those numbers, but typically if they're illegal guns, there'll be another charge with them, where these are just strictly victims that come out of our data system of being victims of a burglary. So I would think that most of them, hypothetically speaking, I think the reason we're seeing some of the increase is more and more people have concealed carry license, and we're taking our weapons out and we feel more secure with just locking them in the trunk or locking them in the glove box or wherever the council, and we're forgetting to lock our doors for whatever reason. So I think that's why we're seeing more, just that more people are carrying guns in their vehicles because they can carry them legally. And again, that's just hypothetically speaking. I think that's one of the reasons why we see this a little bit.
Alderman Gregory.
Thank you, Chief. I think this is a wonderful program. I've heard about it even before coming to the council. Have we looked into measures to try to expand our pool of different organizations that we work with to try to, catch more individuals that may be in these situations?
Well, right now we're working under a grant, so the boundaries of our grant is what kind of constricts us right now. That grant is up in December, and so we have to make a decision at the end of December how we're going to proceed. We are looking at some sustainability options, and with that said, we're no longer constrained by those boundaries, and we might be able to expand to include different things.
Thank you.
Alderman McMiniman.
Good report, Chief. You've hit on some really important concerns for the city. You've got a plan with intelligent goals, objectives, and plans. And I hope this initiative continues with success. The statistics are really informative and helpful, particularly to our neighborhood associations that follow what's happening within our city. And the statistics are so helpful and informative that, Mr. Mayor, perhaps you could ask the police department to report to the council on a quarterly basis regarding some of these trend line statistics. And there's one page of the presentation that talked about homicides over a time series of analysis, gang-related shots fired, confirmed shots fired, calls for service, gun thefts, and gun victims. I think those statistics help paint a picture. If it's an improving picture, then we need to get that out to our neighborhood associations. If it's a picture that's not improving, then the council needs to know about it so we can, as Mary, you've talked about, you want to assign the necessary resources so our SPD can do their job. We have quarterly reports from other departments, such as finance, a quarterly report, such as our City Water, Light, and Power, a quarterly report, and that was initiated by Alderman Turner 8 years ago, such as personnel services, a quarterly report, or actually maybe a monthly report, and that was initiated by my action on the council 8 years ago. And we have an increasingly informative report from Convention and Tourism Bureau with activities taking place. So I think there's probably more interest in the police department than all of those other 8 departments. And so, Chief, outstanding report, and I hope you'll provide statistics to the council on a regular basis going forward.
Just so I can clarify, those are the things that we plan on answering with our research partner come December, January. So we'll have that information. We'll probably do an update sometime, and I don't want to put her under the gun, but the grant ends in December, so we'll hopefully have that information for you by January to be able to provide you some of that insight. And then with that said, we do post our crime stats and our trends on our website every month, so they're on there every month. We do participate in a program called crimereports.com. However, they were bought out by Motorola, and there's been an issue with the CAD system updating. We are working through that with them right now to get it updated. Once we get it up and going, people will go instantaneously to crimereports.com and see what's going on in their neighborhoods. So we want to get that tool back out there for them, but we can also do the quarterly reports once we get that information for you.
That'd be outstanding, and bear in mind that I think the council would be interested in more than just the focus area, the crime focus area, but citywide statistics. Mm-hmm. And if you could get that onto a single page like our Human Resources Department is able to put trend line information on a single page, that'd be really helpful. We'll see what we can do. Thanks a lot.
Alderwoman DeCenzo.
Thank you, Chief, for this presentation. And this doesn't include any of the ShotSpotter technology that's not up and running yet, correct?
That is correct. We're in the negotiating phase with ShotSpotter. Hopefully, I'm hoping by the first year it'll be up and going. Again, we're kind of on their timetable right now about getting that up and going. We think it's going to be a valuable tool for us. Something I do want to stress, though, is every community we talk to that's went and used ShotSpotter, we know there's underreporting going on, okay? We know that by the homicide up on North 14th Street where multiple neighbors reported that they heard the shots, but nobody called us until, unfortunately, the mother found her son the next morning. So we know that occurs. The question is how much. Some departments we talk to, it's 50%. I'm hoping ours is nowhere near that. But with that said, we do know there is underreporting going on, and this will give us a true answer about what we're looking at. It'll also help us respond in a faster, safer method. So I think there are some benefits here. I look forward to getting that, but obviously it won't be citywide due to the cost. But we will have it in our areas where the highest concentration of gun violence is at.
So that quadrant 4 would be?
That will be included, yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the chief? Thank you, Chief. And thanks to all our partners, especially SIU. Chair will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the August 20th, 2019 City Council meeting and approve the minutes. Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council first reading of ordinances into the record of this City Council meeting.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council reading of the consent agenda in the record of this city council meeting. Moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, if this is appropriate time, I'd like to remove 2019-395. I'd like to make a motion to remove 2019-395 from the consent agenda to the debate agenda.
Second the motion.
Been moved and seconded to remove item 2019-395 from the consent agenda and put it on the debate agenda, and then all others would proceed. All in favor of that motion, or is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain, with the exception of agenda number 2019-395, the chair will entertain a motion to place the consent agenda on final passage.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. And the consent agenda passes, 10 voting yes, none voting no. Agenda numbers 2017-103, 2018-110, 2019-008, 2019-232, and 2019-276 remain tabled or in committee. Is there any action on any of those? Next item on the agenda is 2019-395, an ordinance amending Chapter 95 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended pertaining to the Springfield Clean Indoor Ordinance of 2006. Chair will entertain a motion to place agenda number 2019-395 on final passage.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second. Chair will entertain a motion to amend agenda number 2019-395.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second. Discussion on the proposed amendment. Would you like to go over it, Alderman Donlin or Corporation Counsel?
I'd be happy to, Mayor. This amendment number 1, actually someone asked me if an individual would be allowed to vape or use an electronic cigarette in an electronic cigarette store. And when upon my review and the Corporation Counsel's review, the answer, the way the ordinance was originally introduced, is they would not have been allowed. There is an exemption in existing state law and the city code that permits individuals to smoke in retail tobacco stores as long as it meets the definition of a retail tobacco store and that the smoke can be confined. So the logic here is just to be consistent with state law and the city code that it would be permitted in such a store, whether it's a retail tobacco store or an electronic cigarette store that its primary purpose is used for selling that type of equipment or product.
So any discussion on Amendment 1? All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Is there any other further amendments?
No.
All those in favor of the ordinance as amended, vote. Is there any discussion on the
Mr. Mayor,
ordinance? Alderman McMenamin.
Alderman Donald was asking for as many co-sponsors as possible. So, Mr. Clerk, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Noted.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the ordinance as amended, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. And the ordinance passes as amended, 10 voting yes, none voting no. Thank you. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is number 2019-410, an ordinance authorizing acceptance and execution of grant 343-15909 from the Illinois Department of Transportation in the amount of $76,083.84 for the Sustained Traffic Enforcement Program STEP, and authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $17,902.08 for fiscal year 20 for the Springfield Police Department for emergency passage. Chair will entertain a motion to place agenda number 2019-395 on emergency passage.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, vote yes. Oh, everybody voted? And the ordinance passes 11 voting yes, none voting no. Chair will entertain a motion for an omnibus vote to suspend the rules and add to first reading agenda number 2019-411 and 2019-412.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Ordinance amending 2019-411, an ordinance amending Chapter 100 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended, adding the municipal cannabis retailer's occupation tax. 2019-412, a resolution referring a petition to the Springfield Planning and Zoning Commission for public hearing and consideration proposing an amendment to Chapter 155, Sections 155.032, 155.033, 155.034, 155.040, 155.041, and 155.490 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended pertaining to adult use of cannabis. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to move to first reading and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business come before the City Council?
Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Donlin.
I have a question, and if I don't ask, I'll forget to ask again. Thought of this many times. Can Public Works, I don't care if it's right now or later, provide us an update on the bike sharing program that we voted on previously?
You'll do that now or later?
Thank you,
Okay,
Nate.
we'll do
Appreciate
it next week. Any other unfinished business? Any new business come before the City Council? There are two individuals that signed up to address the council. The first one is Patrick Leonard. If you'd like to come forward and state your name and address for the council, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Patrick Leonard. I live at 6108 Iron Bridge Road, Chatham, Illinois. Even though my mailing address is Chatham, I am a resident of the city of Springfield. My reason for addressing the council has to do with what I believe to be unscrupulous practices by Comcast Xfinity as it pertains to broadband service and television service. I did provide, hopefully all of you on the council have a copy of documents which were transmitted, which highlight, I believe, my plight in this arena. I believe Mr. Griffin was kind enough to disseminate that to everyone on the council. And essentially, my complaint, if you will, is this. I had gone to Comcast and signed up for broadband and television services on May 31st of 2016. I received correspondence from them indicating that I would have an installation charge of $50 and my monthly bill would have been $270.90 for television service and broadband service. And that's what I wanted. Subsequently, I found out, as is shown on page 5 of the documents you were provided, that Comcast wanted a sum of $4,024.98 for the installation of my services. When I compare that to what was on page 3 of the documentation, namely $50, I was pretty amazed, to say the least. I had a variety of correspondence with Comcast Xfinity, with their engineering people. I did propose that maybe I would do some trenching on my own property to try and minimize that cost. And the lowest I could get that number to be was $2,820.80. And again, keep in mind, the documentation I received originally from Comcast talked about $50. I did receive, on page 9 of the documentations I provided, there was an article in the State Journal Register on November 11th of 17, and in the article it talked about Comcast having not paid all of the franchise fees to the city of Springfield. And to be quite honest, I was actually elated in that I felt it gave me an opportunity to communicate what I felt was wrong to Mr. Zirkle, and I penned a letter to him on approximately November the 14th of 1917, and I outlined very succinctly, I felt, all of my issues. I did never receive a response to that writing. And again, maybe I'm old school, which I am old, so I will admit that. But I was taught when you receive a correspondence from anyone, the least you can do is acknowledge it, even if you don't agree with it, but you can acknowledge it. That was never done. I then sent an email to Alderman Redpath on January the 14th, 2018, indicating that I had never received any communication from Mr. Zirkle relative to my initial writing. I never received an answer from Mr. Redpath either to my communication of January the 14th, 2018. Last but not least, I then did again in March of 2019 send an email to Alderman Redpath indicating that I had never heard anything from him or Mr. Zirkle to my previous communications, and at that juncture I was informed that that Alderman Redpath had simply communicated with Mr. Zirkle my regret that nothing had been accomplished, and at that juncture he did apologize to me, but indicated that predominantly there would be nothing that could be done. I did initiate a FOIA request here recently because I wanted to find out what is the agreement with Comcast Xfinity. I did receive from the clerk, I did receive copies of 2 agreements that were in effect. The first was dated August the 21st of 1984. The second was dated September the 23rd of 2005. On the 1984 agreement, I would offer that the installation fee that was set forth in that agreement was $25. I would offer that the amount for the installation per the agreement of September 23, 2005 really didn't specify an amount. It rather alluded that the city of Springfield as grantor had the right to review pricings by the franchisee, and I cannot speak to any amounts whatsoever. One thing I did find surprising, when I read the State Journal Register article originally, and it talked about the franchise fees not having been paid, it then went on to talk about the contract was not going to be renewed until such time as the fees were paid, and all of that was settled out. Much to my amazement, when I filed my FOIA request, I did not find an agreement dated past September 23, 2005. As I look at that agreement, it states that the agreement will last for a period of 10 years. And it further states that absent any additional agreement, it can be extended for 12 months. If I had 11 years to 2005, I get the year 2016. As I stand here, do we have an agreement? Does the city of Springfield have an agreement with Comcast? I don't know. And again, pursuant to my FOIA requests, I would say not. Again, and I don't want to burden you and ask you to read what I had previously sent, but broadband is essential to me. I have health issues. I have a pacemaker defibrillator. Periodically, my pacemaker defibrillator communicates with Perry Capital Convention on a needed basis. I now rely on a hotspot, and on a cloudy day, believe me, I can't get email, period. I would implore that the city council, if we do not have an agreement with Comcast, that they would say that all residents of the city of Springfield should be entitled to subscribe for broadband service at a reasonable fee, and with a reasonable installation charge. $4,000 is ridiculous, and yet that was the number I was presented with. I'm not going to let this matter lie. I can't. My life is at stake. I will pursue this, and I would hope that the council would be on board to try and settle these issues. I'm not the only person in Springfield that this affects, believe me. I would offer that I have never, ever heard anyone say that they're pleased with their Comcast and Xfinity services. Never. I would doubt if any of you have ever had any of your constituents say, yeah, it's great. I don't believe that. That's about what I've got to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Corporation Counsel, you want to clarify discussions?
Just briefly, we had numerous conversations with the Comcast folks regarding your issue. And in fact, I think I forwarded you an email that when we followed back up with them actually today, because I had been under the impression it had been resolved. But we have no authority to set fees whatsoever. The cities, local municipalities nationwide, in 1990, I believe it is, basically the federal government took away any opportunity to set fees or service levels, or, for example, what shows are included, or such and so on and so on. So we have very, very limited ability to affect anything relating to fees. Now, they have, in my view, an obligation to extend service because they're kind of a quasi-utility, like a phone company or something of that nature. However, we cannot dictate if you're at the end of a long road, long stretch, that they have to extend the line for free. Now, what they've indicated most recently was they were going to go back because they may have, I'm interpreting from their email, may have served others in the area, so it may not cost as much to extend a single line out there. However, the City Council has no authority to order Comcast on a certain fee or fee structure or otherwise, and that is a matter of preemption by federal law.
As I read section 6, page 39 of the agreement, it appeared to me that the City of Springfield, as grantor, has the authority to regulate rates and sets forth the rate schedule.
Yeah, and that has been preempted by federal law.
Okay.
Since then.
Alderman Redpath?
So we will not have a contract in front of us for an agreement with the Comcast?
There will be they're currently, it's a little complicated. They are currently, we've operated under a franchise agreement for many decades. The current franchise agreement expired in, I believe, 2018. There were a series of extensions. It might have been late 2017. And so they continue to pay their fees. However, they've asked us to, without getting into too much detail, they've asked us to change several provisions of the prior franchise agreement and go with what they're calling their kind of form agreement, which changes our ability to audit and some other things. So that's still being discussed. They continue to pay their franchise fee, which is the 5%. What's being referred to about not paying fees is we did an audit, and you may recall they ended up paying the city about $980,000 in additional fees based on that audit.
So Mr. Leonard's right. There is areas throughout the city that are in the same situation he's in. I'm anxious to see something come in front of the city council that we can look at, because I'm voting against it. I've heard this story from not just Mr. Leonard, but I've heard it from a lot of other people. And the bottom line is that Comcast has a monopoly. They basically got us where we can't get anybody else in, or anybody can come in here and challenge these folks, and it's not right. And you know what? People who are in the city of Springfield, if they're supposed to get the services, it's just like our utility. It's like our water. It's like our electric, everything else. This is, like he said, it's an essential service for him because he has to be monitored by the hospital. That's serious stuff. So I don't know. I'm not blaming you or the mayor or the city council or anybody else. We got to do something about this. This is not right.
There are other sources for internet, such as I think AT&T provides it.
I've contacted them now.
Well,
It's probably the same situation, because I wanted to switch over to AT&T and I couldn't, because they don't go, I'm a block away from my daughter, lives a block down. She can get it at her house. I can't get it at my house. It's ridiculous. Not without paying $3,000 or $4,000.
My neighbor,
extension, yeah.
my neighbor to the north has Comcast. The Lake Springfield Christian Association out there, they have Comcast. My neighbor across the street, across Iron Bridge Road, has Comcast.
What are the distances to those?
The distance across the street
From the
to your
road,
property?
from the road to your house, what's the distance?
300 feet.
And had that changed since you first contacted Comcast?
No.
So that's what it's always been?
No, yes.
Do they have?
Well, I know that when they provided service to like the Lake Springfield Christian Assembly, everything was overhead. My utilities and everything are underground. The farmhouse to the north of me, their Comcast is run overhead. Matter of fact, they said, Pat, if you can get them to, just hook onto our Comcast. We don't care, because what I really need is the broadband service. As I look in the future, I believe all of us will be more reliant on that. And here I sit in a desert. The last time I went on the internet and looked up my address specific, it says that I am no longer in the footprint of their service area. So the people to the north of me, they are. The people to the south of me, they are. The Lake Springfield Christian behind me, they are. And my neighbor across the street, he is. But my house is no longer in that footprint. Doesn't seem quite right to me.
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the reasons that the state, through their capital plan, the governor set aside over $400 million towards broadband development to have build out in rural areas, plus other areas impacted due to crime or other initiatives. So we are taking a look at that, but it is a private, if there's a way to do the private-public partnership, we will, but that's something we'll have to figure out.
All right.
And it's going to be tied to the distances, because what they're doing, based on the I vaguely remember I think you got a quote from them?
Yes, $4,024.98.
So, and if you did the trenching, it would reduce it to $2,800?
That's correct.
So it's the distances they're trying to charge for. They're trying to charge to install the cable. That's where those charges are coming from. And I don't know the distances. When you say your neighbor who has it overhead, then they may not want to install like poles, like telephone poles, to bring it down for a single customer. And so I don't know what the distances are. The email we got back after seeing your inquiry from Comcast today said that they would go back and relook at it and recalculate it. And they
that would be appreciated.
They said that they would be in contact with you. We've asked them to do that.
I appreciate that.
Alderman Hanauer?
Yeah, when I worked for the state, I had to deal with a lot of the core boring and horizontal boring and stuff, and that's very expensive. I don't know if they have to go under the road. If they're going under the road, they're going to have to horizontal bore.
Yes.
And that's extremely expensive. That's what will drive the cost up a lot. Just running a trench and throwing the cable down, that's not much. It just the cost of the cable too, So, but I also, again, like Mr. Zirkle said, it has to do with distances.
Sure.
On and how many roads or sidewalks, things like that. They have to horizontal bore, and it does get very expensive. So.
Well, their quote to me was that they would bore the entire distance,
Yeah.
and let's call that 400 feet.
Right.
The bore under Iron Bridge Road, let's call 100 feet, and I believe it was 110 is what they communicated to me. If I extrapolate that just a bit, and I say I have, I'll change my 4,024 to 4,000, then I would say, okay, if I am going to trench in 300 foot, you no longer have that 300 foot. I'll take care of it.
Right.
I would have expected their bill to be a $1,000 bill.
Yeah.
Because if originally there was 400 foot, and I'm taking away 300,
right.
Seems to me should have been a $1,000 bill.
But my other point on this is, and this is no different than if you didn't have city water and we were going to offer you city water, you would have to pay for the water line from wherever it is on the road. You would have to pay for that to get to your house. So
Absolutely.
This is exactly what they're doing. I'm not going to try to, I'm not sticking up for them. I just know that when you start getting into horizontal boring and things like that, it's expensive.
Well,
But they should
I
take a
know in
look
2
there.
years, I had to sign a 2-year contract back in 16. I know in 2 years, I would have paid them $6,501. And I'm here to tell you, if you can tell me where I can take $4,000 of my money and it'll turn into $6,500 in 2 years, please tell me. I want to go there. Enough said.
I think they need to take a look at their pricing, like you said, the pricing structure. But we'll have those conversations. The agreement's not finalized yet due to issues like this, so.
I've got a follow-up question.
Sure, Alderman McMenamin.
Mr. Leonard, you've raised some important issues regarding Comcast that were worthy to discuss, and I'm glad our Corporation Counsel explained the federal preemption that took place after the 1984 agreement that existed between Comcast and the city. Regarding AT&T and being unable to get internet on AT&T, do you use a cell phone?
Yes.
So you're saying you have no cell phone reception with AT&T at your location?
It's about as good as my hotspot, which my hotspot is an AT&T hotspot. It is totally driven by clouds in the sky.
Okay, I'm disappointed to hear that answer. Is the same result with Verizon? If you were to try,
I don't know. I cannot answer.
Usually, I've been able to get reception wherever I go in the Springfield area. I have AT&T.
Yes, I can get phone reception. Yes, but I can't get Wi-Fi reception.
Can you get satellite reception from AT&T?
No, I cannot.
Okay, usually I get satellite reception just about anywhere in Springfield. It's unfortunate that your location
Well,
doesn't provide
I assume,
that.
and it's a bad word to use, I assume that AT&T has an agreement, if you will, with Comcast not to infringe into their arena, so that they can almost have an exclusive, albeit not a real exclusive.
I wouldn't think that would work with satellite reception with a cell phone trying to get internet, but that'd be worth reviewing further, I think.
Yeah, that's. I don't have that knowledge. I mean, if I go to AT&T on their website, put in my address, it tells me no. But again, Xfinity now tells me I'm out of their footprint too. So I guess I'm out in a little desert out there somewhere. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next is Susan Meister. If you'd like to come forward and state your name and address for the council, we'd appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Susan Meister, and I live at 1421 Holmes Avenue in Springfield. The U.S. Constitution is the foundation of our nation's government, but its importance and true meaning are often forgotten as people go about their busy lives. That's why Mary Mushante, a member of the Springfield chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, and City of Springfield Lincoln Library's Board of Trustees, together with Will O'Hearn, former city library director, planned a project to increase awareness of our Constitution by giving away Constitution booklets to patrons of the library on Constitution Day, which is September 17th. The Springfield chapter and the Sergeant Caleb Hopkins chapter of DAR have made plans to celebrate this historic day. Volunteers from both chapters will distribute free Constitution booklets and bookmarks in the library lobby between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. We've worked closely with the library staff to plan this project, and we thank them for their support. The National Society Daughters of the American Revolution is a nonprofit, non-political, patriotic, and service women's organization that has played an important role in our nation, state, and local community since 1895. It works to promote historic preservation, education, and patriotism. More than 300 members of 3 local chapters work to promote these ideals in our community. We hope that you enjoy your free Constitution booklet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
And do you have a downloadable link as well, or?
Thank you.
Mary, if you'd like to come and introduce yourself too.
The Daughters of the American Revolution has a national website, a state website, and a state or a local. Our chapter has a local website. I'm pretty sure other chapters also have local websites. And if you ever get a chance to look at the national website for the Daughters of the American Revolution, it's really an amazing tool that tells you so much about our history and what this wonderful organization does. And we're very proud to be a part of it.
Great. Have you met the new library director?
Yes.
Oh, you have? Okay, good.
I'm Julie Daly.
Hi, Julie.
I'm with Sergeant Caleb Hopkins chapter, and I'm here to represent them as well.
And I'm Mary Mushanti. I'm the one that worked with Will O'Hearn to establish this project, and I hope that the city appreciates it. And I did meet the library director at our board meeting not too long ago, so she's all on board with this project as well.
Great.
And we will on Constitution Day be celebrating by ringing the bell at the Carillon, how many? 232 times to celebrate the anniversary of our Constitution. And members of the DAR will be there with our little cowbells too.
And what time is that?
Local churches.
And local churches would also be ringing their bells on that day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
What day is that?
It's September 17th.
On a Tuesday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great.
So I hope it doesn't rain.
Thank you. Well, thank you
all
very
so
much. Is there anybody else wish to address the council? Is there a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Check it out, because they were kind of hammering you. Chuck buddies, tell Chuck you didn't go any These two guys here are your best.